Welcome to a very special edition of the Newsmaker interview. It's coming from the Geneva International Motor Show 2019. Now we're standing here on the Champagne Bar, which overlooks Hall 4 at the show, and it's quite a view from here. You can see quite a lot of the exhibitors that have come and the people milling around. From this point of view, it's very, very impressive. But let's put that to Maurice Turrettini, who's the president of the Geneva Motor Show. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I think it looks impressive, but it's known as one of the most influential or one of the most important shows of its industry. Why do you think the Geneva Motor Show is so impressive?
Well, I think that in Geneva we are very lucky because it's the first important show in the year. You know, in March, it's every year the Motor Show of Geneva. That is quite important. Second, I would say it's because of the location of the Motor Show. We are next to an airport, a freeway, and a railway station, which is very convenient to visit us. And I would say third is because Switzerland is neutral. We have no car producer, and therefore we treat all our exhibitors on the same level.
But what makes it different from any other show? I mean, why do exhibitors want to come here? Is it just because they can get here easily? It must be more than that.
Maybe we are well organized, maybe we have competent people working for Palexpo and the foundation of the Motor Show. But I think it's, it's the beginning of the year and we have a lot of European and worldwide premiere. And it's good to show the premiere at the beginning of the year.
This is the 89th Geneva International Motor Show, and after so many years of doing this, how do you make sure that the show is still relevant?
Well, we need to evolve, as you know, because some of the motor shows are suffering. We had some cancellation also, but the good news for us is that we were able to attract 31 new exhibitors, and that is very important. For example, when a new brand is born, then they come to Geneva to show and to demonstrate that they exist.
Okay, we'll talk about some of the newcomers in a moment, but you have to admit that it is the big brands that are pulling out. Does that worry you?
Yes, a bit, of course. And we'll try to do our best to attract them again. We hope that some of them will be coming next year or the year after. They explained to us that it is for financial reason, because of the Brexit or whatever. We don't know the real truth, but what is important is to try to attract them again next year or the year after.
Do you think that you'll be successful there? I mean, do you know yet if anyone's coming back?
No, we don't know yet because it's impossible to know that much in advance, you know. For example, they've cancelled 2 or 3 months before the show, which is very difficult for us.
I mean, what about the changing needs of the consumer? How does that feed into what exhibitors are doing here?
Well, you know, most of the exhibitors now have electric cars. I mean, that's a must. And I would say that the special of this year is that we don't have only the simple commuting electric vehicle, but we have the hypercars that are very powerful and they are full electric. And this is the big event of this year, the hypercars electric.
And more than just electric, there's a lot more technology in the car industry these days. I know that you have the Shift Automotive conference that's going on at the same time this year. I'm wondering if you see the motor show evolving into more of a tech show in the future.
Yes, I mean, it's very important to take a right direction, and there will be exchanges and debate about the new technology and the influence of the new technology on the automotive industry. And that's quite important to have these debates taking place during Motor Show.
So what for you are some of the big key changes in the industry coming forward within technology and within the car industry itself?
Well, I mean, all the new technologies are very important because we see that in the future mobility will be very different. I think we'll have people driving only electric cars. You have some people having no more car but car sharing system, taking advantage of the car sharing system. Some other maybe will have the hydrogen engine system. It's not ready yet, but it is the future, according to what I've heard. And I think they have to present all different kind of motorization.
So as we approach the 90th year of the Geneva International Motor Show, would you say that this is a transition year or phase for the industry?
Yes, it is a transition, and I think we should broaden the scope of our exhibitors, and we should be more into mobility than only motor show.
Let's talk about China, because there are two Chinese car manufacturers with electric vehicles here at this year's show. How does a show like Geneva connect the car industry globally? Because we're seeing the incoming Chinese manufacturers exhibiting now.
I think it's a very good sign for us that Chinese are coming to Geneva because they have a lot of motor show in China, but despite that they come to Geneva, which demonstrates that in Geneva it is the place to be when you start a new brand.
Do you think more people from China will come? Where are the growth, or where does the interest coming from in the future?
Well, China is very important, as you know, and everyone is looking at China, the figure in China. But if China is coming to Geneva, it's quite reassuring for the Motor Show of Geneva.
I mean, what would a trade deal mean for people that are exhibiting here? We're talking about China, but here on CNN Money Switzerland, we're forever talking about the trade tariffs. I mean, are exhibitors concerned at all about the geopolitical situation at the moment?
Yes, of course. They are very frightened by the new regulation between Europe and the United States, for example, and they are very concerned about the economy in China. We've seen recently that the figures were a bit disappointing in China, and they are very concerned about that, of course.
And what about the economic slowdown here in Europe? I mean, that's kind of waving its head as well. I mean, from that perspective, not only could it hit exhibitors, but it could hit the Geneva Motor Show as well, because, as you just said, exhibitors don't have money or don't have the liquidity to come here.
That's why we have to discover new exhibitors that are starting new companies, because obviously we'll have some other cancellation in the next few editions we have to be used to, and in order to dwarf this movement, we need to have newcomers.
Tell me about, this is not just a transition phase within the industry, but it is also for the management here at the Geneva International Motor Show, because we are going to be having a new managing director as of next year, Olivier Maurice, and we're going to speak to him in the second part of this interview. But he's very much been brought on board, as I understand it, because of his background in digitalization. How can you make a show like the Geneva International Motor Show, which is so kind of, you have to be here to experience it? Can you really do that online?
Not yet, but that's the idea, because internet is fantastic. We see the progress of internet, but in the marketing department we need to develop. And I think that Olivier Maurice will be helping us a lot about new ways of the digitalization, which is very important to communicate. And the idea is to be competent in that, and we have to reinforce our marketing department.
And how do you think that you will do that? I mean, do you know yet?
Well, we have appointed Olivier Maurice. He has started on the 1st of February this year. He's observing for 5 months, and he will be the responsible person as of 1st of July. And we hope a lot about his ideas, because he's very into digitalization, and already he has a lot of ideas.
One of the other topics that people talk about generally when it comes to motor shows is the lack of female presence here. There is a lot of women walking around here, absolutely, but there aren't many female CEOs in the car industry. Do you think that the motor show or an event like this could help shape the future?
I don't know, frankly speaking, I don't know, but it's true that we have more, well, you are a female interviewing me, and if you look around in the different booths, you have a lot of female being car explainer, or we have also CEOs, you're right.
I mean, but do you think in the car industry, not just at the motor show, but in the car industry, there could potentially be quotas? Do you think that would be a good thing? Do you think that would bring change within the industry?
Yes, I hope. I hope, really.
And what about at the show as well?
Well, at the show, we have a lot of women that are working for the motor show. We have technicians that are very competent, and they are working with us for many, many years.
What's the next big trend, do you think?
I think that people are coming to the show to dream, to maybe select a car, but maybe what we'll be doing next year or in the next few years is to help them to have experience with the cars, to have essais, as we say in French, so that they can try the new technologies, they can compare hybrid car with electric car or hydrogen car, and that's the idea possibly next year, to let some of the visitors make some try and to have experience with these new technologies, and that's quite important.
And what's the number one new technology for you?
The number one, well, now it's electricity. Everyone is speaking about electricity, but when you ask really deeply the people, they admit that it's a close future, but not the future.
What about Switzerland's role when it comes to electric vehicles? Because, you know, there's a lot of kind of guidelines or actual regulation about where we have the 10% of cars have to be electric vehicles in the future. I mean, do you think that's really possible?
Well, I think the measures are very severe, very strict. The idea of 95 grams per CO2 per kilometers is very difficult to reach. That's why the electric cars are very successful now, because that's the only way for the car industry to drop and to reduce the emission of CO2, thanks to the electric car. That's why they are all crazy about electric cars now, in order to reduce the level of CO2.
And Switzerland's targets are way higher than they are in comparison to Europe when it comes to having the number of electrical vehicles on the roads in the future.
You're right. It's unfair because in addition, in Switzerland, a lot of people are driving four-wheel drive. And we know because of the landscape, it's normal. And then we are punished by that because automatically almost 50% of the new cars are four-wheel drive. And therefore we will be penalized in terms of CO2 level.
The fact that Switzerland has put this regulation in place, do you think that that reflects, is that why we see so many electric producers coming to this show?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, of course. But that's the tendency also in Europe, you know. And look with the Dieselgate, what happened in Germany. They're trying to close some access for all diesel engine. And that's a move. That's a move in Switzerland, but it's a move in Europe too.
Okay, and what about the future of the show? I mean, we talked about it becoming a bit more of a tech show in the future. Do you think it would ever merge with something like the IFA in Frankfurt?
Well, you know, we have an alliance with the IFA in Berlin, I think, and we'll have tomorrow the Shift Automotive with some keynote speaker, and they will address a few issues of the future. What will be the influence of the new technology to the automotive industry, and that's very important. And we will try to have it every 2 years, you know, in March in Geneva and in September in Berlin, to have these two industries working together, debating together.
And of course, you've also got Formula E adding to that mix. Did you go to the race in Zurich last year?
No, I didn't. I couldn't do it. But maybe this year I will go to Bern, because, you know, it's going to be in Bern in June.
Okay, but that really helps to raise the profile of Switzerland as well, as a car nation without producers.
I would love to have it organized in Geneva, but it's not done yet, you know. It's always difficult with our politicians.
Are you hopeful, though?
Yes, I would like to, of course.
Okay.
The city of the motor show should have a Grand Prix.
Thank you very much indeed, Maurice Turrettini, President of the Geneva International Motor Show, for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Remember, part 2 of this interview will be with Olivier Rees, who is the incoming Managing Director of the Geneva International Motor Show. That's coming up very soon here on CNN Money Switzerland. And remember, you can catch all our interviews and all our coverage from the Motor Show by logging onto our website, cnnmoney.ch.